Most of us spend our lives trying to be right. We build our identities on beliefs we picked up years ago from school, family, culture, survival, and then we defend them like castles, even when they no longer serve us, even when they silently ruin us. Adam Grant's Think Again isn't a book about intelligence. It's a book about wisdom, the kind of wisdom that comes not from knowing more, but from being willing to unknow, to let go, to shift. Rethinking isn't about weakness. It's unequivocally about courage. It's about choosing truth over ego, growth over comfort, curiosity over certainty. When I picked up this book, I thought I was already open-minded, but page by page, Grant showed me all the ways I still clung to being right. He showed me how tightly I held to stories that no longer reflected who I was becoming. So what follows is not a breakdown of facts. It's a reflection on how this book rewired me from the inside out. Grant opens with a paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it is to change your mind. Why? Because intelligence often feeds arrogance. We use our brains to defend what we already believe, not to explore new possibilities. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. This line stopped me in my tracks, because I've built parts of my identity on knowing things, on insight, on teaching others. But Grant challenges that. He invites us to become scientists, not preachers or prosecutors. Preachers defend their beliefs as sacred. Prosecutors attack others' views to win. Politicians adjust views to gain approval. Scientists stay curious. They experiment. This metaphor reshaped how I think about thinking. I began noticing how often I slipped into preacher mode, defending personal development truths like gospel, or prosecutor mode, trying to prove someone wrong instead of understand them. But when I showed up as a scientist, open, grounded, curious, everything changed. Conversations deepened. Conflict softened. Learning accelerated. This first section taught me it's not about having the right answers. It's about having the right relationship with not really knowing. One of the deepest truths in the book is that changing your mind feels like changing yourself. We don't just defend ideas, we become them, and that's where the resistance lives. Grant writes, when you define yourself by your beliefs, changing your mind means losing a part of yourself. This resonated deeply because I've built identities as a coach, a creator, a thinker, and those labels made it hard to admit when I was wrong. I didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to confuse people. I didn't want to confuse myself. But the truth is, you're allowed to outgrow your past self. You're allowed to change your mind. Not because you were fake, but because you've evolved. Grant invites us to treat our beliefs like clothes. Wear them, test them, shed them when they no longer fit. I began letting go of narratives like, if I slow down, I'll fall behind. If I don't prove my value, I'll be rejected. If I don't know the answer, I'm not useful. They weren't facts. They were fears, and this book helped me name them. Grant doesn't just explore individual rethinking. He explores how we can create cultures of rethinking. It starts with psychological safety, the feeling that you can speak up, be wrong, ask questions, and not to be punished for it. He gives examples from Pixar and Bridgewater Associates. Companies where mistakes are not hidden, but dissected. Where feedback is not feared, but expected. This challenged me as a creator. Do I build spaces in my content, in my conversations, where people can say, I changed my mind, and still be respected? Do I ask open questions? Do I welcome disagreement? Do I model rethinking myself? This part taught me that curiosity is contagious. If you want to lead others into growth, you must make it feel safe to not know. And the safety doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being real, from honoring humility as a strength. One of the most surprising and honestly practical parts of the book is Grant's exploration of motivational interviewing, a method of helping others rethink, but, without pressure or manipulation. Instead of telling people they're wrong, you ask curious questions, listen without judgment, highlight their own doubts, and reflect their reasons for change. People are more likely to be persuaded by what they hear themselves say. This blew my mind because I've tried to help people by giving advice, by correcting them, by sharing truth bombs, and more often than not, they just shut down. But when I listened, asked, and let them wrestle with their own thoughts, something shifted. This section reminded me that the goal is not to win arguments, it's to win clarity, together. Grant applies rethinking to love, collaboration, leadership, and honestly, it's powerful. He talks about marriage check-ins, where couples don't wait for problems to surface. They proactively examine assumptions, needs, and habits. He talks about challenge networks, people who care enough to call you out, push you, and ask better questions. He talks about thinking like a scientist in conflict, staying grounded, humble, and curious, even when emotions run high. This section made me rethink how I listen in close relationships. Do I seek to understand or to defend? Do I let others challenge me, or do I avoid discomfort? This part of the book gave me tools to deepen trust, not through agreement, but through shared inquiry. And it reminded me that love isn't just presence, it's growth together. One of Grant's most powerful messages is this: learning requires unlearning. In a world that changes fast, the real skill is not accumulating facts. It's letting go of outdated ones. He gives examples of experts who stay open, even in fields where authority is idolized. Scientists who revise decades of work. CEOs who pivot. Educators who experiment. This made me think of all the beliefs I've inherited about success, masculinity, productivity, spirituality, and how few I've actively re-examined. What if the beliefs that helped me survive are now holding me back? What if wisdom isn't just what I know, but what I stop pretending to know? Unlearning is messy, but it's sacred. It makes space for truth to enter. As I closed Think Again, I felt lighter. Not because I now had the truth, but because I felt less afraid to change. Adam Grant doesn't write with ego. He writes with compassion. He invites you to hold your beliefs with open hands, to treat rethinking not as betrayal, but as evolution. This book taught me you can be wrong and still be wise. Certainty is comforting, but curiosity is transformative. Changing your mind doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've grown. In a world of hot takes and rigid ideologies, Think Again is a gentle rebellion. A rebellion of thoughtfulness, of humility, of grace. What if the best thing you could do today was to change your mind? What if your strength wasn't in your answers, but in your questions? What if being wrong is not the end of credibility, but the beginning of authenticity? Reading Think Again reminded me that truth is not a destination. It's a dance, and the bravest thing you can do is to keep moving.